Hi there guys, welcome to the next part of my guide to building, magnetizing and painting the UCM faction for Dropzone Commander. This part is finding me quite a way along into the process now. So let me show you where I'm up to. I'm going to show you the Albatross. This is, let me just get the light focus sorted out there, we go. This is the one where I was demonstrating the colour modulation technique, so airbrushing and highlighting certain areas, bringing out the panels, making the contrast, just giving some depth and volume to the model, and I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. It's really easy to overdo the highlights, and I think I've got them just about right. We won't really know until the next stage, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. So just before that, I just wanted to bring you up to date in where I'm at. So after the airbrushing, the colour modulation, I've gone in on this one and I've picked out the metallic areas. Just using a bolt gun metal equivalent. Let me see if I can find it for you. It's not to hand at the moment. There it is. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this is a Vallejo gunmetal grey. It's actually not the easiest metallic to work with. I had to thin it quite a lot with a Vallejo thinner, but it's okay, it does the job, and I think when I've got a wash on here, which is the next step that I want to talk about, then it's gonna look pretty good. So yeah, so I've just picked out the metallic parts on this one, of which there are several. So the entire kind of loading bay underneath, and all of the engine parts here, the little guns and missile turrets and what have you, the vents on the front. It's kind of tedious, but worth it in the end. I think it's always worth just taking a little bit of extra time with these things, just to bring out those details. I've also, just talking about detail, I've also dry brushed with a very light grey colour across the model. Dry brushing is something you have to be a bit careful with when it's a very smooth model like this, because you can end up with a kind of a streaky finish if you're not careful. But it's just helped a little bit pick out the details for me. There's just a couple of little vents and things which are slightly raised, and the dry brushing just helps pick those out. So yeah, so pretty pleased with how that's going so far. Let me show you a couple of others. So ones I'm quite happy with are the APCs. These guys here, I've got them mounted here just on a piece of cardboard, just with some blue tack. It just makes it easier for things like airbrushing. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention was that these, not only have I picked out the metallic areas and gone over with a dry brush with a light grey colour, I've also just put a bit of a gloss coat on these in preparation for the wash stage, which is next. The reason I do that is just to protect the surface of the model, and also it helps the wash just go into the cracks and the nooks and crannies and things, all of the places that you want your shadows to be. It also helps with the particular wash that I'm going to use, called a Flory wash, which I'll talk about a bit in a moment. So these have come out really well. The reason I really like the way these have come out is because the magnets, which we were talking about in the first couple of parts of this series, the magnets have really blended in really well into the model, and almost to the point that they look like part of the design. So that's really good for me. I really like that. Similarly, I've got the Ferrum model here. So that's looking quite nice. I'm quite liking the runway, the deck area here, the way that's come out with the airbrush. That looks pretty good. Quite a lot of work still to do on these in terms of details and things, but you can see that they are starting to come along. Biggest worry at this stage probably is that they're just too grey. They're just a bit bland looking. I think with some detail work that will be addressed. But so yeah, so that's something. I don't want them to look too grey. I do want them to stand out a little bit. So I'm just in discussions with the guy that I'm doing these for as to how we do that. Maybe applying a bit of colour, maybe some orange or yellow, which sounds horrible, but actually will work really well with this grey. So I'll keep you posted on that one. So yeah, so all looking pretty good. Let me just show you a few more. These are the Gladius chassis and the Sabre and Rapier chassis as well. All of that you can actually see there on the camera, the gloss coat that I've put on. Bit of chipping here on the magnet, I need to sort that out. So yeah, bits of maintenance to do, but all in all, some good preparation for the next stage. And the next stage is applying the wash. The wash that I use on 99% of the models that I make is by a company called Flory. So here it is. It's called Flory Models. It's a British company, and they make this weathering wash. They make several colours, but the one I use the most is this one called Dark Dirt. And it's great stuff. It's water-based, which is really important to me. I don't tend to use solvent-based paints, certainly not at the moment, like oils or enamels or anything like that, just because of the smell really. I work in relatively enclosed areas, I've got housemates, and I don't want to bother people, let alone myself, with the quite strong smell of the spirits and solvents and things that you have to use with those materials. So I use this water-based clay wash. Now the great thing about this is that it's obviously it's water soluble, there's no smell at all, it's great, and also it's a wash where, well, I'm going to have to show you, I think, but the great thing about this is that you put it on, and then once it's dry, you wipe it off of the areas where you don't want it. So that sounds kind of weird, perhaps, if you've never used this kind of wash, but it actually gets some really nice results. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you how that works just by applying it to a couple of models. So I'll see you in a moment to show you how I do that.